is Konganaya outside of Demico, the western pavement of Demico, and they are of course performing some cultural shoots Saturday morning. kind of dog in this country right now. Dog get more than their name. Best dog, brutal dog, Rufus, Brutus, all kind of dog. Karen Bosch, all kind of dog them get in this country right now bite people. Are you careful? Watch how you go. Old people say shortcut to kill. Enough people want to take shortcut to the top, but shortcut does kill. A lot of people selling their souls to get to the top, but shortcut does kill. A lot of people are scheming and conniving to get to the top. Some of them, according to Conway, are dangerously ambitious. Are you watching yourself? Watch out for all them bad dogs they got in this country right now. All kinds of things happening. Yesterday, the police force said that there was going to be a COVID vaccination drive at Felix Austin Police College, and there should have been no failures. I wonder what the results were. I will have to find out. My sources will soon tell me if there were failures. Because at the end of the day, the best rubber stamp said, as long as you have enlisted in the joint services, your bodies belong to the state. You're not the owners of your bodies. And so the state is free to do what it wishes with your bodies. I am saying to my brothers and sisters in the joint services, your bodies belong to you and the Creator. No man owns your body. And you must determine for yourselves what goes in to your bodies. And if you've determined that you don't want any jab, then you have to take the necessary actions to ensure that you don't get jabbed. Good? I got a video yesterday. Oh my goodness, I love the Trinidadians. I love the Trinidadians. They don't mix matters. And I wish Guyanese would wake up and be as bold. And be as bold as the Trinidadians. To tell the people that they're put in office where to shove it, when to shove it, and why to shove it. That's the classic journalism there. Where, when, why, how to shove it. You understand what I'm saying? I want to encourage Guyanese to get that kind of boldness. Because for too long, we are a set of people that are so afraid. God knows what we're afraid of. Yeah? The Creator knows what we are afraid of. Because I don't know.
Terence Dial Singh said that in the coming months,
I want to share that video with you as your inspiration piece this morning. Let me see if I can get it so you can see it. Right? I love the Trinis. Let me say that again. I love the Trinis. Trinis to the bone, man. Y'all don't play. Right? Y'all don't play. Teach Caribbean people how to treat politicians. Right? But on a serious note, we have to be more determined in our spirits to stand up against the abuse, the dictatorial nature of this cabal, and how they are using bread and butter issues to trample upon the rights of Guyanese citizens. Employment is a bread and butter issue. And so when they come and they tell you, take the job, or we are going to dismiss you, that's a bread and butter issue. And Guyanese must not stand for it. Guyanese ought not to stand for it. When they come and they tell you, take the job, or you will be pulled from your course of study as a military officer, as a military rank, we can't stand for it. Those are all bread and butter issues. This is Massa Day again. When Massa could decide when you eat. Because if you didn't take the job, you cannot eat at the same time with the other ranks in the army. If you didn't take the job, you can't travel with them. But they expect you to defend this country alongside them. Something got to be woefully mad. Something has to be woefully wrong with the minds of these cabal, these dictators. And I'm saying to my brothers and sisters in the joint services, Y'all need to take a stand. Right? Together, we stand. Divided, we shall certainly fall. And that is what is going to happen to you in the military. I received a video this morning in my inbox of a medical personnel who took the COVID-19 injection, vaccine, both doses. And shortly after, she developed a number of complications, a number of organs in her body failed, to the extent that she had to face double amputation. Both of her legs had to be amputated. According to the article, she is soon going to have to face the same thing with her arms. Those two are going to be amputated. Right? And this is someone who took both doses of the jab and was COVID-19 shortly thereafter. So I don't know. Y'all could be lab rats. But those who don't want to be lab rats have a right to decide that they're not going to be lab rats. And they have a right not to be bullied. Y'all listen to this, Tiime. Tag the thing for them. Tag the thing.
Terence Dial Singh said that in the coming months, only vaccinated people will have access to things like malls and supermarkets and things. So here what I want to tell Terence Dial Singh. Take the malls and the supermarkets and push it up your ass. I want to tell you tonight, I almost did a video today and drove around and filmed Subway and KFC and Royal Castle. You could play small goal football inside. Right now, the owners of KFC working out, they opened their 60th branch and they're working out how to close down the other 59. Because y'all had them shut down for 2.5 months. But now that they open back and y'all thought Chinese were running, guess what? No, sir. Chinese understand the power of their pocket now, partner. Their vote, their labor, and their consumption. So you threatening Trinidadians. I want to tell you something. You better be able to put back all that money all you get from all them construction projects your wife do and put it back in the treasury to mine all them business owners who will shut down if you come with that shit. And I'm going to encourage Trinidadians to tell Terence Dial Singh to take that and push it up his ass. Today we got information from your own CMO that every single 99% of the people who died from COVID was above the age of 55 and 60, all with comorbidities. You have been lying and playing hide and seek with the truth. You do not need to vaccinate the whole population. You need to vaccinate the at-risk, the elderly, the comorbidities, the obese. Vaccinate them. The rest of the money all you're trying to thief for them Chinese donkey piss vaccine, push that up your ass as well. And we the people of Trinidad and Tobago have to get very serious now. Because you all can't come and use this as a thief money enterprise to try and vaccinate people with shit. Sorry about that, partner. Trinidadians, anybody under the age of 58, you're healthy, you have no reason to be vaccinated. None whatsoever. The science tells you that. So whatever these shit-hung politicians tell you, tell them take it, shove it up your ass. Say it just so. Shove it all the way up your ass. Terence Dial Singh. That bullshit. And we're going to resist it. And we're not taking mandatory vaccinations. We'll resist that too. And I want to tell you that you see how they're begging people? You have to pay Chinese laundry and them to go and sing, take a jab, give me a jab, 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 jab. Bullshit. You know why you have to pay Chinese laundry for that? Because Chinese don't want your donkey piss. We don't want it. Take it. Push it up your ass, Terence Dial Singh. The people of Trinidad and Tobago are sick to hell up of shit-hung politicians and rules that for us are not for you. Take the fancy Prado you buy, push that up your ass. Get all the foreign exchange you could get right now that the rest of us can't get, push that up your ass too. Let's see how much stuff you can push up your fat ass, Terence Dial Singh. Don't threaten the people of this country and tell us we can't go in the mall. Richard has our mall. Richard to take his mall.
And shove it up his. Morning, neighbor, morning. Strong language, but a pertinent message. I apologize to those of you who had your ears hurting, but I don't see anything wrong with that message. Guyanese need a strong dose of wake up. Right? We need a strong dose of wake up. I mean, we have already said that the docile slaves come to this part of the world. Every day you want to believe if the offspring of the ancestors who came to this part of the world are representative of the ancestors. Because as far as I know, the ancestors were fighting people. But in Ghana, abuse upon abuse upon abuse, and we are ready and willing to accept that. It is 7 hours 7. It's Tuesday the 7th, Tuesday the 27th day of July. And as is normal on Tuesdays, we have the doctor in the house. Dr. David HINDS is certainly with us this morning. And so let me welcome him to the program. Morning, Dr. HINDS. Professor, how you do?
Good morning.
I didn't hear you clearly, sir. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, I'm fine.
Oh, we hear you now, You know when you walk, long time you walk and big people tell you morning and you grumble, and then they hear you, they make you tell them morning again. Right? I live by you know you say morning, you not got manners? Right? Anyways, welcome to the program.
Welcome.
It's about a week ago since we were here talking together. Perhaps I can't remember, but it seems like such a long time ago. A lot has happened in this country. I want to start by alerting people, in case you weren't alerted, that a date has been fixed for the PSC Police Service Commission versus a Fanali government, versus the Secretary of the PSC, etc., versus the Commissioner of Police, and so on. That date is the 4th of August, I think. I did put it up. But whatever the date is, I can tell you for a fact, is that that case is set to be heard early in the month of August. And so, perhaps, very early we're going to know if, as Anil said, yes, the 4th of August is the date. And it is going to be heard before Justice Gio Prasad. We are going to know if we have an absolute dictatorship in this country or not. You are anticipating anything, Dr. HINDS, in relation to this matter?
Well, depends on what you mean. It's going to be a landmark case, as you said, and it is going to, in many regards, define the powers of the president, the express powers of the president, and the inherent powers of the president. And I think it's a very good case, because sometimes we get caught up in the politics of the moment. And these court cases go beyond the politics of the moment. What they do is define for us power. And constitutions, by their very nature, are not always explicit in terms of how power is allocated. Often, the language of constitutions leave opening for interpretation. And this is where the courts come in. So we will have to wait and see what the High Court says. And I can assure you that whatever the High Court says will be challenged in the appeals court, and it will go all the way to the CCG. So these things are not open and shut. It's really testing the parameters of the powers of the president.
The parameters of the powers of the president. Those parameters so far has been wide, and being misused here, there, and everywhere, quite frankly. We have gone out over the weekend. We went out this weekend. We went to Victoria. And I think, as is usually report on these visits when we come on Tuesday mornings to the people, we've had varying concerns raised from the Victorians. You care to share and share your perspective with the viewers this morning on some of those issues?
Yeah, sure. Let me just start off by saying I have to disassociate myself from the previous segment, the segment before I came on, and I know people sometimes link people. I share none of those views on COVID-19. And it's unfortunate that it was played before I come on, because I have a very strong view on politics and the pandemic and politics and COVID-19. I don't think politics have any role to play in what is a clearly sensitive matter. And, you know, there'll be people in the audience who are pro-vaccine, and there are people in the audience who are anti-vaccine. And I don't want to be associated with one position or the other, you know. I think these matters have to be reasoned through, and we have to put before people all sides of the argument, you know, and because it's a clear case of people having to find the balance between personal choice and collective security. It is a clear case, and as political people, we have to put that before people. You know, it's not a difficult, it's not an easy decision to make when you have to make that decision or that choice between personal choice and collective security. From the time of human existence, that has been a question. And I think the most as political people we can do is put the question before people and allow them to choose. You know, our audiences, like I said, are varied, and we should try as possible not to influence the audience one way or the other, because, you know, like I said, it's a very, 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 very delicate situation. And I just want to make very clear that I do not share those views that were expressed before. I prefer to strike a balance between personal choice, which I support, and collective security, which I also support. And I think we have to leave it to people. But I just wanted to say that I don't want to get entangled in this matter. And I've said that over and over again. Politicians, political people need to keep that thing off the political agenda and allow the scientists, and this is for all of us across the board, and allow the science, real science, to sway people one way or the other. There have been people who started out by being vaccine skeptics, and then they moved to become vaccine supporters. And I am sure there are others who started off as vaccine supporters and have become vaccine skeptics. My view, like I said, is to leave that thing to the science and to people's personal conscience. But having said that, let's go to the question at hand. Yes, we were in
Victoria.
Victorian Sunday, and before that, we were in Golden Grove during the week. So, you know, similar communities on the Lower East Coast. And the conversation reveals the consistency of what people in African Guyanese communities are saying at this point. I mean, the first takeaway from both meetings is the fact that people feel frustrated, people feel as if they're being left on their own, and people are calling for action from their leaders. That was clear, that was consistent. And there were people in the audience who said very clearly that they are PNC members and PNC supporters. So it is not confined just to people who are not PNC. I think it's confined to people who are PNC. People ask about an explanation of what went on during the period of March to August. People want to know. Obviously, things have been swirling around in the media, but they're saying politicians have not come to them and given an explanation of exactly what went wrong. Was there regime change? If there was regime change, what role was played by whom? What about rigging? What happened? Was there rigging? What about the recount? You know, how the recount came into being. What about the data that the recount brought to the fore? How is that data not being used or was not used to determine the winner? And what about that data? So there are all these questions that are being raised. Of course, people express concern about the problems within the large partner of the coalition. And the sense we got is people seem a little bit taken aback by the revelations of the use of power by the top leadership. You know, Guyanese tend to give the leaders the benefit of the doubt. You know, they always feel that the top leadership is really not the dictators, that is the minions who do the bad work and the top leadership get a bad name. And so we got the sense that people are grappling with that. Are the charges against the maximum leader justified or not? But there is a consensus that the maximum leader did not forcefully represent his constituency. That seems to be coming through. Whether people are, as I said, whether people are convinced that the charges of dictatorial use of power are justified, I am not sure. From what we have been hearing, people seem to be still working that through. But what is generally clear is that there's a growing sense of fear, frustration among African Guyanese about what the government, the present government, is doing. But what is very healthy is that anti-government position, that call for a more radical approach to the excesses of the government, is not arrived at in isolation. That people are talking both about what the government is doing and the need to step up real protest and resistance against the government. But they're also critiquing their own party. So it's protest and resistance against the government, but also self-criticism, which I, in my view, think is very healthy, a very healthy development. I noted your critique about the fact that Guyanese people seem to be docile. I don't necessarily share that view. In fact, I don't share that view at all. I have participated alongside Guyanese long enough in protest and resistance to know that we Guyanese are not docile. We are among the more radical in the Caribbean and beyond. We are no different from our sisters and brothers in Trinidad or wherever. And our attitude to COVID-19 should not stain us or mark us as docile. We are not. We are not a docile people. But people have to make calculations when you're taking actions. People live long enough to know that if you go in front of politicians, your own leaders will leave you out there to hang. And people understand that. The 2012 protests in Linden is a good example. A homegrown protest. The political party didn't tell the people what to do. Although there were PNC people who were involved in the protest, it wasn't directed from Congress Place. It wasn't directed by the APNU. It was the people who took that protest, and they took it to a level. And their own party, their own coalition had gone in there and declared support for the removal of the subsidies. And when your party is not with you, you then become vulnerable to the enemies. And eventually we saw the PPP was bold enough to go into a place like Linden and shoot down people. 3 were dead. Ordinary people learn those lessons that, you know, you may want to protest, you may want to take action, but you have to be guaranteed that you get what we call backup. That if you're in Golden Grove and you take action, you want to know the people in Victoria and Haslington and Buxton and Pleasant, and Georgetown, Linden, and so on are there with you. You know, there is strength in numbers. So the people, by their apparent docility, are really expressing common sense about struggle. You know, there are times when you go to front, and there are times when you hang back and wait and let the time becomes ripe. There is a time for force ripe, and there is a time for waiting back. You know, and I think we have to have that confidence in our people that they are reading the situation and they are taking positions consistent with that reading. I don't think we are docile, and I think our leadership is found wanting, and we understand why our leadership is found wanting. I never tire of pointing out that after every major, from 1953 to the present, after every major shake-up at an election, the leadership was immobilized, the losing leadership. In 53, it led to the split of the multiracial party into 2 racial parties, and we see where that has led us today. You see, after the PPP was defeated in 1964, a lot of PPP members left. There was a leadership debate as to whether the tactics before the elections were right and whether the PPP should stand up against the new coalition government of PNC and UF. A lot of the PPP leaders were jailed after that election. And the people in the PPP, East Indians, were asking questions. The party was asking questions. The party really split up. Moses Bagwan left. Brindley Ben, who was the deputy premier, left. A number of other ministers and leaders left. Some left the country. C.V. Noons and all these people. You know, there was leadership turmoil after the 64 election within the PPP. The losers, when you lose a defining election, the leadership becomes weakened after the 1992 loss by the PNC. You know, Hamilton Green left or was shoved out. And Basil Williams and some of the others left with him. Some of them who were back in the PNC, no, Basil and those, left with Ami. The party was split. Ami went in 1994 and beat the PNC in Georgetown. He ran against Faith Harding. So, you know, and for a time, the PNC couldn't offer the kind of opposition that it would have liked to offer between 1992 and 1997. It was not until the 1997 election the PNC picked up the pieces again. By then, the army people had drifted back to the PNC. Aubrey Norton was the general secretary, and he had some young Turks with him, and they were able to revive the party at the 1997 election. But even then, there was fallout from the 1997. The young people believe, oh, it had not gone far enough. And the PNC was to stay in opposition for a long time after then, even though they were revived in 97. Corbyn took over at Hoyt's death, and there was rebellion to Corbyn's leadership. And we come to 2015 when the PPP lost. The Jagdeo faction blamed Ramotar. Ramotar is now an exile in his own party. The old guard is not in the government. Jagdeo took charge. And so what is happening in the PNC now and what is happening in the coalition is nothing new. And when that happens, the party becomes weakened and it cannot offer the kind of sustained leadership. That's the objective. That is the objective answer to the question. Of course, you know, you have to look at the situation and you have to say to the party, if in 1992 it took you 5 years to catch yourself, given what is happening now, you better take 5 months and catch yourself, right? Rather than 5 years. So those are the subjective conditions. But we have to be truthful to our people. We have to say to them, yes, your party and your parties should have done more, can be doing more. But we also have to tell them why they are not doing more. This political education has to be always truthful. And you have to tell both sides of the story. That is why I'm saying here this morning, I do agree with people who are saying the opposition should be doing more. I am firm in my view that even a weakened PNC could be doing more than it is doing. But we also have to very quickly see that there are objective reasons why they are not doing more. In the first few months after the government came to power, no one knows what the Americans would have done. These people put sanctions on opposition leaders. We didn't know whether they would have sent troops in the country had there been a mass uprising. And one can understand why, people were hesitant. The leaders were hesitant. You see? So we have to always give people the truth and give the balance, so that people make informed decisions, right? You go there, we go to these meetings and people are ready. People are ready for the struggle. People are ready for the struggle. There's no doubt about that. But we can't let our people go there and do foolishness and get slaughtered. And then we hold a big funeral for them, and that's it. We have to be saying you're ready, but let us try to be more ready while things are sorted out. You see? So the meetings are useful. It brings the WPA into contact with people. It allows us to establish relations with communities. It allows us to take our message to the communities, and to let the communities know that no one group or no one party has monopoly and should have monopoly. People have a right to hear from multiple parties in this era of politics. And people should not feel trapped or imprisoned by one tendency, because we are a diverse community and we have diverse approaches to the same problem. And so we have a chance to go out there and give our side of the story, give our message. From the time the APNU was formed in 2011 to now, we've been giving our all to the APNU, and we've neglected our own party. And now we have a chance to revive our party, to rebuild our party on the ground. We were always together at the top. But it's a time to reconnect the party with people at the bottom, and we are glad to do that. And we've been getting some really good responses. People have been following what we've been doing through our members who have been prominent in the public space. And sometimes that makes it very easy to reconnect with communities because they know you. A lot of people have been following this platform, and they've gotten to know you, Mr. Amsterdam. And so it makes it easier when you go into the communities to work with people. And we've had fairly good results thus far, very good response at these community meetings. They're not big meetings because it's COVID-19. We don't even sell around the Laudela because you really don't, you have to be careful about putting people together, a lot of people together in one space. That's one of the challenges of holding public meetings with people. So we are, there have been smaller meetings, and the people were complaining in Victoria that we didn't sell around the Laudela. And a lot of them only knew of the meeting by word of mouth and just a couple of hours before. And so we talked about splitting up communities into blocks. A place like Victoria is a very deep community. And we were way down at the back. And it's difficult, at 2 o'clock in the day when the sun stands up, for people to go from the front of the village all the way to the back. So we are trying with the idea of blocking off the villages and do what you call block meetings. So you don't have a lot of people in one space, and you're able to get to other people. But what is very clear out there is that people want to hear from us. They want to hear from us.
Not only do people want to hear from the WPA, but I think you might have hinted at it. People are also wanting to hear from those who were in government, those who led the government. And up until now, why I must be honest here, Dr. Hines, I really am trying to avoid butting heads with you this morning. I really am trying to avoid it. But there's some things which generally can't be sidestepped. Yes, the leaders might not be willing to take the people out onto the streets or to encourage the people to go out onto the streets. But while these also wise men are making their wisest of decisions, the people are the ones suffering on the ground. We, like you said, witnessed that suffering firsthand. We met a sister who spoke of having been in the poultry business. And since August 2 last year to now, she has been seeing hell to survive. We have gone to other communities where people talk of COVID relief being thrown on the roadside for them to get it. Right in Victoria, the issue was raised the other day. When the COVID grant is being distributed, it is distributed by an all-Indian team who is secured by all black policemen. And when people are telling you about the jab, the people coming to you about the jab is an all-black team. When leadership observes that, that is blatant discrimination. I don't care what anybody calls it. And discrimination has to be confronted. I don't know about, at the end of the day, maybe I am too callous. I don't necessarily want to be politically correct. But I believe in fairness and justice to people. And while the leaders are making their wise decisions, they're comfortable. It is the citizens who are in the communities facing these discomforts. What do we say to the people to deal with the discomforts which they're facing while the leaders are protecting them from their own demise?
Those of us who think otherwise need to go in and work with them. It's as simple as that. Those of us who feel otherwise and we have the capacity should go in the communities and work with people. People have a right to be exposed to multiple approaches to struggle. And I'm very glad you asked that question, because the approach on our side of the political divide, meaning the party or parties that represent African Guyanese, we have encouraged over time an almost total dependence of our people on the party. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we don't inform our people. We don't inform our people. We take this foolish view that we mustn't, hang our dirty linen in public, and we deprive of our people of the necessary information that they need to confront their problems in their community. The Indian Guyanese community knows what happened March to August. They know the PPP's version of what happened. Our people don't know our version of what happened, because we don't want to wash our dirty linen in public. Some people on this program say it, So our people are uninformed, and if a citizen is uninformed, he or she is not able to make informed decisions. Information is an important aspect of democracy. You can have everything else in a democratic society, and if the people are uninformed, it's not democracy, because they'll be making uninformed decisions. And lastly, we have not, on our side of the political divide, linked economic survival, human issues like healthcare and education. We have not linked those things with politics. We spend a lot of time cussing out the PPP, which needs to happen. I am not against that, I do it too. But we don't spend enough time putting in place, when we're in government and when we're out of government, talking about people's livelihoods. We tend to give people the impression that your livelihood will increase or will get better when we get power, so wait. But when you wait 23 years to get into power, people have to live in those 23 years. And so we need a new shift in our political mobilization. We have to be concerned about what happens in people's lives. we have to get those names of the people who have not gotten their COVID relief and let the authorities know that these people have not gotten their COVID relief and that they can get their COVID relief. That is political. That is the highest form of political action. It is as important as winning government. That is to bring relief to your people. The lady said she minding chicken, she's selling chicken, she's not getting sales. She used to sell to the people going in the bush. People not coming out from the bush as much as they used to, or they're not going in, so she can't sell. That's a part of the market that's gone. And she has loans to pay, and she has to live. I think as political people, we have to demand relief for people like that. She can't, they're objective conditions. I mean, cost of living is high. And cost of living is high because of objective circumstances. Cost of living is high because of the onset of the pandemic. It's high because of some deliberate policies by the PPP. It's high because of trade and, items not coming in the country, we're not able to sell. The objective economic conditions have led to the economic situation that we're in. We are not single in Guyana. It's happening all across the world, in the big United States of America. And what are your policies to combat the cost of living? One way you do it is through these grants, these cash transfers, which they're now calling cash grant. It's now part of economics all over the world. America is doing it. England is doing it. The rest of the Caribbean, the rest of the world, they are saying, the pandemic is here. Cost of living has gone up. How do you combat that? One way of combating that is putting money in your people's pocket. And we can't go around the place telling people cash grant is wrong. And you have to give a man a fish rather than teach him to fish. When the rest of the world are recognizing that you, the government, have to put money in your people's pocket. We are way behind. We in the opposition who are going wrong and telling the people, don't take $19,000 for the grant that they're giving to school children. And we have to stop that nonsense. We have to say to people, cash grants, cash transfer is a good thing. What is bad about it in Guyana is the PPP is giving you a pittance and they are discriminating in its distribution. That's our case. Our case should not be against cash grants. But you have people from our side who are going wrong and giving people the impression that cash grants are wrong and they shouldn't take it. What is wrong is not the grant. What is wrong is the inadequacy of the grant and the discriminatory way in which it's being distributed. And that's what I'm saying. Political people have to be nimble. This thing of believing that everything the PPP do, we have to say it's wrong. The PPP is right in giving cash grants. They're wrong in the amount and they're wrong in discriminating. And in any case, you need to tell them cash grant is a WPA-inspired policy. It's we policy. But if you PNC, you don't want to own it because you didn't put it on the table and you don't want the WPA credit or professor credit. It's nonsense from our side. And so, Mr. Amsterdam, we have to balance going at the PPP with ensuring that our people are surviving. And I'm saying this morning, as we have been saying, without any water in my mouth, you're getting 19,000, take it. You get 4 children, it's $76,000. Explicit. Take it. It's inadequate, woefully inadequate. Take it. And you have to know that your party, your coalition was given a chance to embrace cash transfer, and they didn't. The other side embraced it, and they're using it opportunistically. Let's don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Let us fight their opportunism. Just let them know that it's inadequate. Let us put a plan before them for a monthly or a termly, excuse me, cash grants for education. Let us put a comprehensive package before them. As we said on Politics 101 on Thursday, the opposition must not just oppose, we must propose. If we believe that the grants should go to all students, regardless of primary school or public school, then we have to put that on the table and use our 31 votes in parliament, use the 200 and something votes that we got at the election, and use that as leverage. We have to put on the table policies that will put relief, economic relief for our people. One balance here for $100 is not good enough. A family of 6, and they have to cook balance here. Imagine how much it will cost them. We have to be concerned about people's welfare. We have to be concerned about our supporters who are private school owners in poor communities. That is the people who go to the school, their private schools, are poor children. Those children are being deprived of a $19,000 cash grant. We have to fight for them. And we know that there are some of our supporters who are against the grant going to private schools. And we have to make the argument every day to convince them that that is not necessarily a right position, given the fact that private schools today are not the private schools of yesterday. The private schools of yesterday were the elite schools. Today we have poor people private schools. And so we have to work with our people to ensure their survival. And it has to be done at 2 levels. You have to tell people to plant and do this and do that, the personal thing. The Americans call it personal responsibility, and we have to do that. But that alone is not going to help our people survive this economic crisis. Ultimately, they're going to survive the economic crisis by macroeconomic policies, such as the cash grants. And the economists, of course, will tell us about what else we need to do. So it's a new political approach, Brother Kedaki, that we have to do. I am not, like I said, I'm not opposed cussing the PPP every day. I think we have to hold them accountable and so on. But in addition to that, our people have to live. Our people have to live. And if the PPP is not going to help them live for political reasons, we have to help them live. So our politics have to balance cussing the PPP with working with our people and making demands to the PPP for our people. It is a paradigm shift. And those of us who are leaders have to set that example. I am not being politically correct. I am being realistic. That sometimes I get tired of the PPP this, PPP that, and so on. And I'm not hearing about what we need to do. You have to balance it. You know, I'm not saying I just get frustrated that every day we are giving our people this, what Dr. King used to call the stale bread. The PPP this, the PPP that, the PPP this, the PPP that. And that is important. I keep repeating it. But our people need more than that. We can't go in the communities and tell the lady who can't sell your chicken, the PPP this, the PPP that. We have to find ways of telling her. We are thinking that once we get our permission, we should come on programs like these and tell people, if you're in the Victoria area and you want chicken, here is this place you can go and buy chicken. I'm sure there are people in the Victoria area who may be buying chicken at places that they shouldn't buy from, or in the Backless area. We can help steer people toward. That is politics. That is effective politics. I rather spend half of my time doing that than to PPP every morning or every night. You know, we have to be creative in our politics or we will die in Guyana. So it's a shift in the politics. And that is why we need to go into the communities, as you were saying. We need to go into the community, not just to walk about. There's a section of our meetings, WPA meetings, in fact, before we speak, we ask the people to speak. Tell me what's bothering you all. Tell me what are your big issues. And then we figure out how to act on it. So it has to be a change in political mobilization, and we have to encourage it. You know, I rather live for 5 years more of the PPP and having our people alive to be there when the roll is called up yonder, rather than live for 3 more years under the PPP and our people dead. That when the victory comes, they're so weakened. So we have to change the politics, man. We have to change the politics. To hold the PPP, expose the PPP, fight the PPP, but also fight against the PPP, but fight for our people and with our people. If children can read and write properly, young people can read and write properly in our communities, you know, cussing the PPP is not going to change that overnight. That is a responsibility for us in our communities. But anyhow, there are things that are happening, and I just wanted to put that out there as you ask, to say the political approach has to change. And if one party is not doing it, then the other parties need to lead by example. As we told the people in Victoria, when we leave and other parties come, the PNC come, we make sure we leave you all with enough information and enough nourishment so that when the PNC come, you all will raise the questions with them. Don't just allow them to come to talk to you. You talk to them. And sometimes parties have to lead by example. And that is what we in the WPA are trying to do. We tell the people in the community, we haven't come here to abuse PNC. We haven't come here to cuss out Granger left, right, and center. We come here to explain to you, and in the process, we may be critical of the government, our government, but in the final analysis, we've come here to be with you all, let you all know that We just don't talk on Buxtonian morning time or politics 101, but we are prepared to come in here and for you to see us face to face. How many people in the audiences have said they've listened to you, Dr. HINDS, they've listened to you, Mr. Amsterdam, in the morning, but it's always good to see you face to face. Makes a difference. Makes a big difference. And it is always okay for people to be able to tell you what they may not call into a TV program like this and tell you. And so you have a better sense of what is going on. Yesterday, we had a meeting with the young men who were dismissed from the Guyana Forestry Commission for playing dominoes during their lunchtime. And it's an old story. But we were able to sit down with the men. They showed us their documents. One man, he was fired because they say he put in some wrong part in some vehicle. So, unsatisfactory, you're fired. Another man, no reason given, you're fired. Another one, he was seconded from forestry to the ministry. He and the minister get wrong. He was the minister driver, I think, and they get wrong. They send him back to forestry. Forestry said, we ain't got space for you. He was being paid by forestry while he was driving the minister. The minister don't want him now because the minister must say talking him or something. So you can get knocked off now for talking the minister name. Right? And they send him back to forestry. Forestry said, we ain't got space for you. His matter is under review and he's not being paid. The other men who then knock off for them, I think they took their severance, but they give them the severance check. This is the ministry or the forestry commission or whatever they're called. They give the men this check. The men are walking around for the last 3 weeks with this check. They can't cash the check because they tell them no money in the bank. In the meantime, they have families to feed. And they have a government check with a severance pay that they can't check, they can't cash. The government saying they ain't got money. And I have been calling around to people who should know, and I know Winston Burton is usually on this program. I'm glad if Winston can shed some light on what do people do in those circumstances. Walking around with a government check with your severance pay, you have got no other form of income. The government, and you can't cash this check. What happens when a man is seconded from one department to another department, and then he goes back to his home department and tell you they ain't get space for you no more? And his matter is pending, it's being investigated, and he's not being paid. These are the things that we want to know. We want people to let us know when advantage is being taken on you. This, PPP, this in isolation. We want concrete things. When Mr. Amsterdam speaks on this program of what happens in the police force, he gets his information. So you have 4 young men with families walking around with a government check that they can't cash now for 3 weeks, and they have no income coming in. These are people who live paycheck to paycheck. You have a man who can be transferred from driving the minister, going back to his own place, his own department, and being told there's no space. And the matter, after they went to the union, and the union was able to make moves on their part, they're investigating the matter now for a month. The man is not getting paid. I don't know much about trade union rules, but I know that if you are being investigated, you're being paid until the investigation is over. And this advantage that is being taken on working people who are mostly of African descent, if I may add that. These are things that have to be taken care of. I said earlier that, you know, there are things the opposition in its present state can do, but there's things that they can do. The young men told me they went to the office of the leader of the opposition and they spoke to a former minister. And you are telling me you are a parliamentarian, you got 31 parliamentarian, and a matter like this, you are not able to pick up the phone and call that subject minister and say these people and get results to them. That is the kind of work I think the opposition can be doing. Yes, they may not be able to take people onto the streets and do the other things, but they can do representational work. I have some names. We have collected some names of people who have not got their COVID relief, and I am going to pass it on to the opposition and demand of them that they see to it that those people get their COVID relief. Mr. Dharam Lal, or whoever is in charge of the COVID relief, is more likely to respond to Joe Harman than he will respond to David Hines. I am not an elected representative. And that kind of work, and I hope some of the opposition parliamentarians are listening. Please call me, because I have work for you all. You all are the ones who are representing these people's votes. And you are telling me people are walking around, these people vote for you, they're walking around with a government check and it can't cash, and you are not able to make representation for them. People don't get their COVID relief. I don't know whether you all, I don't want to say you're not doing it, but I don't know whether you all are not compiling a list. Everywhere WPA goes, we are telling the people, give us a list of people who have not had their COVID relief or their flood relief or whatever relief. We're asking them to do the same thing with this child grant. And it is the job of the elected parliamentarians to do that. Compile your list of sufferers and bring relief to the sufferers. At least that's what you can do. You may not be able to do some of the radical things that your supporters feel you should be doing, and I understand that. But if you are able to get the COVID relief for a man or woman who didn't get it, they will welcome that as much as they will welcome a protest march, or probably even more. So we have to change the politics. The politics have to change. We have to strike that balance.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. It's now 8:06 and the lines are opened up. You can call and let me hear what you have to say on the issues this morning. Let's talk the thing. It's a way hang on good to say those and nothing. Because, well, you know, when you hear the details of these abuses, and, but I don't know. Do I want to wait 5 years to see this change, or do I just call it live? Good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. What a beautiful program again today. You see, when people tell you how good your program is, you have to listen. I know you're listening, Mr. Armstrong, but it is very good. I agree with what Dr. Hines are saying. And I know we all come from the same place. Years ago, my grandmother used to always help she little family, whoever she could help out. And this is what it takes. But at times, sometimes you have to sit people down and let them know. And what you and Dr. Heinz is doing is the same thing what our grandparents and other grandparents used to do to their friends and their family around in the village. And this is what needs to be done. And that is very good what you guys are doing. Because sometimes, I don't know, it's depression. People are depressed. There's almost, since this pandemic started, a lot of people didn't get jobs, and how many people in that village or other village could have lost their life if other people did not intervene to try to support them, because these are people who are accustomed to have money. Then all of a sudden, no money. Where it coming from? So these things could cause conflict with people in their home, with their children, and all this kind of thing. And it is very good that Dr. Heinz and you are stepping out to try to get those people money. Oh my goodness, they don't understand what this thing is causing. It is causing problems to people and their family. And the people need the help. So continue to do the help. And today, I'm sending you something in your cash app. Okay? Step on it. Have a good day.
Have a good day, caller.
Thank you very much.
Caller Live, good morning.
Sorry.
Yes, good morning to all of you guys and happy Tuesday.
Good morning.
Mr. David, thank you for your information. Those 4 brothers' problem touched my heart this morning. To my advice, what they should do, because they always teach you in the army, you have to protect your back. No one wouldn't protect your back. Is to make sacrifice now, if it's 7 morning at least. Pick up your family, your children, and go in front of the Minister of Finance and protest for a check to be changed, because you have kids to be feed and a roof for your kids them and your family. Go outside there and protest. The shameful things that coming out of Guyana towards black people, it is ridiculous. And Mr. Granger just should sit back and talking nonsense. It is the fact that Mr. Granger do not tell his supporters and his truth from since last year. That's what Coleman always said, that Mr. Granger is lying to his supporters them. I listened to Mark sometime last year when he asked Mr. Granger, so tell his supporters them what the president called you and said. He said, no, something are left to be told. Mr. Granger is to blame for all that's happening to black people today, who like it or like not. You got to call it or you see it. And no matter how people call it and talk, he's not stopping the bleeding from black people. And this is what black people have to do. Get Mr. Granger out of there. It's faster that you guys could get respect. Look what happened in Guyana. The Colombian them protest with no problem. Police leave them alone. Well, it's part of politics. Police leave them alone. I know what? Couple more hours. The Biden administration called Guyana cannot protest in their own country. Don't wait on Granger. Those couple Cubans didn't have no leader in Guyana for protest with them. But I say enough is enough. And that's what Guyanese have to do, black people. Time for Lord politics and politics. Because Jack Joe is ruling you guys with politics, not politics. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for calling, caller. Thank you for coming through. Caller Live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, Dr. Heinz.
Good morning.
Look, while I don't agree with everything that Dr. Heinz is saying, look, he's making some very salient points. if you look at all the members of the opposition, they all have their own TV programs and Facebook and what have you, and all they're doing is just talking and highlighting what the PPP is doing. And even though that's important, I've always been saying, what are we doing about it? You know, the COVID grant was given out how many months ago, and so many people haven't got anything, and they just talk about it and then they move on. Now they've gone on to the education grants, and then a lot of people probably won't get that, and they just move on. You know, they have to do something about it. As far as protesting goes, I mean, I don't know what the hell needs to happen in Guyana for people to start protesting, and we can't keep using this COVID as an excuse. You know, like the Rickford Burke and the other people in America, they're having a protest sometime in August, I think, and from what I'm hearing, you got 20 members of the opposition are flying up there to go and protest. So there's COVID in America as well.
Yes.
No, as far as the cash grants go, like it was an action, and it was Mr. Granger and Ramjatan who said that if they give people the money, they're going to spend it out. I mean, that's taxpayers' money, that's Guyanese money. If they spend it out, so what? I'm sure the majority of people wouldn't spend that money just like that. They'll put it to good use. And that's the problem with our people, you know. I don't get it. Whenever the PPP is in power, they're always empowering their own people. When we get into government, we need to have bloody, what you call it, that, oh, geez, the term slips, but you got to, you know, sort of like, if black people are left behind, well, then you got to do things to empower them to catch up, and we always seems to be going backwards. You know, during the news time, like, Buxton is one of the strong. Much work have they done in those areas, but yet they were going into Enmore and Annandale and doing all sort of stuff and leaving their supporters out. And that's the problem we have. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. You know, the callers, like I said, I don't have too much to say this morning. I ain't got nothing good to say, quite frankly. They say silent river runs deep. But the callers has certainly pointed out a lot that is wrong in this place, quite frankly. The resources that people are going to spend to go to join Burke's protest, why not organize a simultaneous one here? Like the caller rightly said, they ain't got COVID in America. Dr. Hines talk about the Americans giving out grant. Do they discriminate in the distribution of those grants? We don't need to get a lamp to look for the discrimination in this country. It is that blatant. But let us sit and wait for 5 years. Maybe we will survive. Call here live. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. The first thing that you opened with were the COVID-19 problems. From the starting, will not be taking those vaccines. And I am glad the foolish people who are taking it who are dying out, losing limbs. Those people should come out in the open, get on programs, and let the people who haven't taken the vaccines see what happens to them when they take the vaccine. Now look, Mr. Armand was out there instructing people to take the vaccine with what happened to you with the Sputnik. But he ain't going out now and instructing people about the cash grants from COVID-19 cash grants to nothing. He ain't talking about that. That is why the people of Abnu are being angered. Now, to date, you can't hear nothing about the petition in the courts. That is out. Now you hear the talking about the police problem in the court. Abnu got to get bashing all the time because Abnu have failed their people. They are not coming out. They are not telling us anything. We need to know. Let us hear about the petition. Last Friday I could have died. Let me give you a little thing that happened to me. I was in Munishwars And as I came through the door, the in door, a little girl, a black girl, she said, "Good afternoon, Mom." I said, "Good afternoon." And she you have heard about COVID? I said, "Oh, yes." She pointed out and she said, "Have you had your COVID-19 vaccine?" I said, "No." She said, "We're giving the vaccines. Go there and sit." I said, "Who you talking to?" I said, "Girl, not me. I don't want the vaccine." Now why I bring out this? These vaccines have to maintain the cold chain. Nobody know how long these vaccines were out there in a little ice box. I know the box. In a little ice box. I'm quite certain they didn't have a temperature to check to see the how cold if it's still on the cold chain. Because after a time, the ice box do thaw and you're going to lose the cold chain. Now they had a few people sitting in the chairs waiting to have these vaccines. I am quite certain you come to town, you're busy shopping, you're trying to beat the prices, you're studying, you gotta go home, you might got a husband who gonna beat you because you meet home late. Now you're gonna sit down in the line there. Nobody asking you your present history, your past history, or what gonna be your history. Blam! You got it? Damn, to give you the vaccine, you walk out. Sometimes by the time you walk out, your blood pressure is a little high, your sugar is some way, your cholesterol been another way, and you take this vaccine. Why Guyana not educating the people? And the time people take to go on Facebook to read people's business, see who cussing who, see who talking about woman, talking about wife, they should Google the vaccines. They should Google everything about COVID-19, the cause and so on, and see what the vaccines are doing to people. Couple weeks ago, I went to a funeral. You know what? The man granddaughter, who is a doctor, called all the way from Canada. You got to take the vaccine, pops. And by the time he took the vaccine, he and his wife contracted COVID, and he buried at St. Jude's Anglican Burial Ground 2 Fridays back. So people got to know what they're taking. They got to know, and they are not getting educated on this vaccine. And they're talking about protests. Last week, I left all the way where I live in and got till to Georgetown to a protest. And it in had 20 persons there. So what they talking about protests? They're talking about protests and they aren't going. People living as far as where I am living, you know where I live in, to go all the way to Georgetown. And they're right in Georgetown. The masses who have been knocked off. You don't have to say, "Oh, the job holding me back." Why are they not coming out to protest? What do you think? The PPP knock them off and they're going to call them back? And we have got to hold the country accountable. We got to hear what is the petition. Come tell me, let me know we're going on with the petition. Because the petition suddenly turned silent. I don't know if they end up by the man volcano and it burn up. You're nearing nothing. That is why I got to say this, man.
Thank you, caller. The lines
Hello.
remain open 6225933. Dr. Hines, you've heard a lot. I guess you want to respond to a few things.
No. The callers are on the money, and I'm glad people are seeing the importance of the new politics that the NWA are putting forward. The politics, balancing the politics of protest with the politics of representation. I think it's the way to balancing the politics of protest with representation. And also the politics of information. So protest, representation, and information. When we go into the community, that's what we do. We give people information. We encourage the politics of representation. What is happening in your community? What can be? And of course, the politics of protest. It's not a one-way street. So protest, information, and representation. And you know, while we're waiting on our sisters and brothers in the other party to work out their things, we in the WPA are available to start the work. The PNC, once it sorts itself out, will join the work. I'm confident of that. I am confident of that. But we can't wait. We have to start that work now, right? When the roll is called up yonder, you want to be there. But you want to be there properly informed, properly ready. Properly ready. And we have to do that work. And that work has to be done with you in your communities.
Call you live. Good morning. Thank you for holding.
Yeah. I just want to update Guyanese of what's going on with this COVID vaccine. Sinopharm, none of the Chinese vaccination are good. They're not working. They're not working in China. They're not working anywhere in Asia. All right? The lady called in and talked about cold storage. They're using a new stabilizer for the Moderna and Pfizer. It does not have to be frozen anymore. They're using a new stabilizer which keeps the vaccination stable. So it don't need to be frozen. That's why the Caribbean and South America will be getting that within the end of the year or next year. So it does not have to be frozen anymore. So we need to update Guyanese of what's going on. This vaccine does not have to be frozen. They're using a new stabilizer to keep the vaccination stable. The only vaccination that's not working, and it's known worldwide, are the Chinese nation. AstraZeneca and Sputnik V, those vaccination work. It works, but it's not as good as far as...
Good night. Call you live. Good morning.
Morning, Kadaki.
Good morning.
Busy. Good morning, good Dr. Hines. Let me piggyback on that lady that talked about the vaccine and so on with the temperatures. One of the things I had discussion with my friends. Before I go, let me say this: one of my outlets or my income streams is commercial air conditioning and refrigeration. Our primary focus is on quality control, air quality control, food quality control. You know, we go into the big restaurants, the big hospitals, the big cold storages, and so on. And when this thing came out and I saw the temperatures of these things got to store on, the discussion I had with my friends was that, we got problems in Guyana. Because, I see the quality of work the technicians are doing down there. Much less got to handle this thing. Not only technicians, the quality work technicians are doing. The quality of storage of stuff, medical stuff within the government institutions. It's like, it's scary because we're going to find a lot of problems going to start coming when these vaccines get down there. Because, you simply can't store aspirin properly, much less, storing this kind of high quality kind of drugs. So, that was one of the discussions that we had. I got a cousin, he was one of the first that died in the COVID hospital. And the day before he died, the Saturday before he died, me and him, we had a nice conversation. So it was like, boy, we counting down. Because we know you're coming out just now. The night his mom spoke to him, and his complaint was that it was too cold. That we supply cold air, dry cold air, not just cold air, because the dehumidification, everything, we got to put all of that into consideration. And when she told me that, and the Sunday he died, because remember, this thing is a flu like sickness, right? And for you to get that place cold, it's a sad thing. It's the wrong thing to do. My entire family had it.
right? Except my son, sorry. And we had to raise that temperature in the house to be comfortable and to make sure that we could be able to breathe properly. That's another thing. So quality on storage, quality on living. People just put an air conditioner in a space because they want it cool. No, it don't work like that, right? The other thing is, what are you guys doing with that guy, that little boy who posted up a picture saying Capleton is wearing PPP numbers? PPP colors, sorry. He's so childish. He has no diplomacy. He has, Dr. Hines, you could put another word for a person who's supposed to be in a leadership position, but don't know how to conduct themselves in a professional manner. That's all I have to say this morning.
Thank you, caller. Lines remain open 6225933. It was busy, so let me not humbug you guys. It's now 8 hours 28 though. Lines remain open 6225933 is the number to call. Remember to check out Chefs down at Dr. Miller Road. That's the western entrance of the Republic Bank of Triumph. Today on the menu, they got salt fish and bakes, they got puri, they got pulori, they got all kinds of beverages, plantains and eggs, fried rice and chicken. Calling live, good morning.
Sorry about that. Don't like to be a repetitive caller. But in listening to what that man was saying, he could talk where he wants to talk. I know it. I was in the system. Look, this last weekend, they had a countrywide shutdown with electricity. What happened there? Huh? People got to talk the truth. The vaccine that the caller spoke about that is going to be here, we're coming with the stabilizer. It ain't mutated. These that are here need the cold storage. I wonder if you went and check out the fridge after the country right blackout Saturday. No. Now another thing, I'll forget the one. With the cash grant, when Apnu was in there, when the COVID first started, President Granger was going through the motion of giving a stock. We spoke about it. Looking at the figures of the cash grant to be like $100,000. When they went to the drawing table, they brought it down to $50,000. Guyana was not really in a position under APNU to be any type of cash grant because the 205 flood was in the PPP time. The thing that came for cash grant was COVID. And in the same time when he was prepared to give this cash grant, we get cooled out of office. So right there, the money now was left up in arms, and by the time the PPP come in, they decided, well, so we got to turn rich, we got to think, we people gonna take it and slash it to $25,000 and gave the money to some of the people. Granger didn't give cash grant to the school in that way. He provided meals, he provided transportation. Because let me tell you, the $19,000 don't do a set of ear, nail, and face. And it ain't got nothing really to do with the children. And should school be open, then you're going to see children going to they're going to can't pay nothing, and the $19,000 going to be finished. But Granger provided transportation for them children, and had he been in power, he might have put in more transportation for children. So they still do something, but they got the bad what they're doing, telling me about the petition and certain things. Bye.
Thank you. Call A there. Call A live, good morning. Call A live, good morning.
Morning. What a blessing good day to you and Mr. Hines. I just want to touch on two quick points. Mr. Granger should know that he's not capable for running this country or capable for even going back to fight for position in the PNC. He is sick. He got his cancer, whatever. complain to nobody. In call his people, speak to them, let them know where's the position. You know, as a big man, is 55 years old. I cry for knowing that when this man just give up this country without even informing his people. This cash grant now, this cash grant, these major personnels, AJ 94.1, who's speaking about this $19,000, like if it's the world. I mean, 19,000 is better than nothing. They're talking about some mother got 6 children, collect 100 and something thousand, and what could do for them, we go to spin with that, it finish. And I saw they might even get school clothes and boots and things for go to school because they have other things, the experience. The rent, the necessary thing, the food. So these media places like AJ and them are promoting these things, them like if is the world these people doing. This is things that is granted to the people, to the children, and to the people of this country. It's not these people obliging the citizens of Guyana with something. It's what is for them.
Thank you for coming through, caller. Lines remain open. 622593 is the number to call. I think I saw a call from the Minister of Finance. See if you could get you now, buddy. Let's hear what you have to say. Here coming. Good morning, Mr. Jordan.
Hi, morning. I wanted to give some clarification on the check story.
Yes.
We're listening. Mr. Jordan, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I'm listening. We're listening.
Okay, good. Right. So, the check. What does Dr. Hines know what kind of check it is? Whether it's a bank?
I think it's a bank check.
All checks are bank checks. Which bank?
Boy, I think it's Republic Bank, I'm not sure, but I think it's Republic Bank, they told me.
Okay, and if it's a Republic Bank check, why can't he go to Republic Bank with an ID card or so and have the check changed?
They said they went a couple of times. They got up there and they put some mark at the back of the check indicating that funds are not there.
Insufficient funds.
Sufficient funds are not there.
That's a legal matter. Had he got some legal representation, he could get put the person who wrote that check in some legal hot water because they're writing a check on an account that doesn't have funds.
It's forgery.
And that is forgery. In fact, somebody should take up this matter because the check that he's walking around with is not valid anymore. It's not a valid check. There are no funds in the account, and therefore that what they have done is committed fraud on the individual. And he should go back to the opposition office and ask for some representation where that is concerned. You know?
Thank you, sir.
Yes. While I'm here, I want to make a clarification. Give some further insights into the cash grant story. I heard David and his what now seems to be a mantra on the cash grant and the fact that WP initially come out to the idea. I think WPA can be credited with putting because you happen to be a citizen of Guyana and nothing else. So effectively what Dr. on beyond the fact that you were a Guyanese citizen. I don't think
Goodness.
that they had put out a while back. Because what the PPP has put out now is what they call CRAS grant. And this CRAS grant supposedly is targeted to the education sector. And I think President Granger had said openly that he was not in favor of a universal cash grant, but he was in favor of targeted cash grant, especially especially to the education sector. And this is what supposedly the PPP is doing. That what the PPP has done really, besides the grant, that the grant is insufficient, that the grant really has not been defined in terms of what outcomes we are expecting and so on. And I agree with everyone who's saying, take the money. I'm one for that. Take the money wherever it comes from. But at the end of the day, is that what we really want to do with our tax dollars or oil money? You know, this is supposedly a one-off event. And by the time if school were to open in September, as Rondo has just indicated, most of those people who have got the grant will have a difficulty sending the school children out to school properly equipped. Because what comes first in Maslow's theory of needs is the ability to survive. And therefore, a lot of that money might have been used correctly on providing sustenance as opposed to going and buy boots and uniform. So that has to be taken into consideration. If we want to put a cash grant out there, we have to define it. We have to talk about implementation, viability, frequency, amount, targeted outcome. Those are some of the things that we need to do when we want to really talk about an effective cash grant. In the interim, while we're not doing that, I say to everybody, every bit of dollar that this government is paying out, go for it. Take it, but again, keep your head on and let us continue to struggle for a better Guyana. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. The caller, let's talk the thing. It's 20 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. Caller, you're live. Good morning. This person seems to be getting connectivity issues. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Dr. Hines, anything you want to say while we wait?
Well, you know, just to reiterate what Winston says, I hope the men involved in the matter are listening, and I certainly will convey to them, if they're not, on this matter of the check. I rather suspected that, but I wanted a professional view on it. So that, I'm sure, is helpful information from Mr. Jordan there.
Call you live. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning, Mr. David Hines. One question I have. I would like to ask why the APNU, PNC, AFC, whosoever, why they're coming up here for protests, but why they're not protesting in Guyana. A caller mentioned the same thing just now, maybe 2-3 callers before me. He said they're running up here for the protest in Brooklyn with
Is the caller there? Lost the call. Lines remain open. Six 225 is the number to call. It's now 70 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. The lines remain open. I don't know. Is it somebody is trying to confuse us, trying to tie up the lines or something? But the last few calls didn't come through, so let me see what's going to be happening now. Dr. Hines, I thought I lost you there for a bit just now.
No, I'm here.
Call in live, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I am asking you guys to help me here because I'm not getting it. Our MPs who would have backed Mr. Granger on his stands against protesting, street protests. Some of these very MPs have booked tickets to weeks ago was on Mark Benchcop's program, and he stated categorically, loud and clear for all to hear, that he's against protests. He's not for protests. No one came out and said anything. None of the MPs, nobody came out and were around him to say, well, no, I'm not part of that. But as soon as a couple of those in the PNC took a stance or made a few statements against Mr. Granger's actions, these very people jumped up. I remembered well that Annette Ferguson is one of them. I hope others said something. She said, oh no, she's backing Mr. Granger. She's behind Mr. Granger, 100%. No. I'm sure, I am almost certain that she would be traveling to US to protest.
Are you sure you bought her a ticket? Are you sure, Carla?
I don't know. I said I'm almost sure. I am saying that I hope that Mr. Burke don't allow these people, none of the people from PNC, to talk on show. To talk. Not one of them should be delivering it. Let them deliver it here. It's not about the guy out there. They're only trying to help what is taking place here. Let them have protests here. We should be having one simultaneously. And we don't want them to go up to they must address us. We are the ones who voted for them. What they're going to US to tell those people? And support here, not traveling. They got money. They really have monies. You know, to say that they can jump on a plane and go on a protest still to US. How absurd. How foolish. I mean, who are behind these people? Who are behind these people? Mr. Right. And they're running chicken to another state. Come on, to another jurisdiction. You know, saying that they're assisting from the other state, let them bring them behind, let them stay home, man, and stop the nonsense. They're without leadership. And that is the bottom line. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. The lines are open 62. Yeah. The lines are open 6225933 is the number to call. Targeting is your program this morning. Targeting. Call it live. Good morning.
Good morning. Are you hearing me, sir?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Mr. Hines or Mr. Kadaki, can you get Granger or Harmon to come on this program early as possible? We need to ask some questions. We really need to ask some really question to either Harmon or Mr. David Granger. They coming on this program because I don't understand people are suffering in Guyana and they're running up here to protest where COVID is up here in America and it's getting worse every day, but you can't protest in Guyana? What foolishness is that? What foolishness is that? I really like to, if Mr. Harmon or Granger, you guys hearing or listening to this program right now, can you guys come on this program done and talk to your people? We want to speak. Mr. Hines, can you get Daki, can you get one out of the two of them?
I can't tell you I can get them. I can invite them.
We need to speak to them.
I can issue an invitation publicly. Mr. Granger, Mr. Harmon, the people want to hear from you. KAMS is available. Thank you, caller.
Kadaki, if I may.
Go ahead.
I have not invited Mr. program largely because I don't think he will come onto the program. I've invited Mr. Harmon, who I have had very good relations with, and he has promised to come months ago, never came, and never called me back. And I can't get through to Mr. Harmon now. I used to be able to get through to Mr. Harmon. I can't. And I rather suspect that the internal politics in the PNC may dictate that. But I have invited him more than once to come onto the program. He had a clash the first time. And ever since then, he has not responded to my invitations. And I can't even get him on the phone anymore. So, I have to be truthful with the people. I have not made an invitation to Mr. Granger. I don't think he will respond, but people can put pressure on them to see if they would come on to these programs.
And since we're being truthful, I'll tell you truthfully, I have no interest in talking with Mr. Granger, so somebody will have to interview him. Call in live, good morning.
Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, lady.
You know something? Let me tell you. I used to be one of the persons beating up the MPs that they're not coming out to protest. You know, our black people, we are our worst enemy. Now these people who get knocked off, look, these buy story with the check and all these things. Every Wednesday, those people are out there, all those MPs that are out there. Why can't our black people go out there and join? We have to start from somewhere. Come out there and join. Would the people get them to come out and walk the streets or to stand firm and make sure that we get for them that rum shop all about the place, liming, doing all kind of thing? What are their future? And the MP's gonna lift them up and go and carry them out there? Every Wednesday those people are out there. Why all these people with all these issues cannot go out there? Why can't they go out there and stand up and start from somewhere? The people cannot just start with a whole big set of people thing. You gotta start from scratch. And the trying to do that, but nobody is paying any attention. All they want to do is sit by some wayside and wait for PPP say, we giving handouts to go and collect it. Well, let them wait. Let them wait. Let our black brothers and sisters wait. Let's see what's going to happen with us in this country. People got to understand, you have to stand up for your rights. Nobody is to take up a gun and go shoot anybody. Go out there with a placard and stand up for your rights. You lose your job under this government. All kinds of discrimination. Go out there. Who on earth is going to lift them up from where they are and put money in the pockets? We are a worst enemy. So they're talking about people about they're protesting and protesting. People
Thank you, caller. It's now 7 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour. Mr. Hines, you can make your closing statements.
Well, we've heard all dimensions of the problem, and I think this is very important. As I said, we live in a diverse society, and we have diversity. Even among African Guyanese, we're not a monolith. We have diverse views, and I welcome all sides of opinion. And we have to find a way to pull the positives from all sides of the opinions that are out there to work out a strategy. I don't necessarily agree with the last call, but I'm in sympathy with what he's saying. You know, you see, it's not just the MPs, it's not just the people. You know, the MPs have to listen to the people have to listen to the MPs. Those of us who are not MPs have to pitch in. All of us have to pitch in and to come up with a strategy, because obviously there is a lot of frustration out there. I know that if I had booked a ticket to go to Mr. Burke's protest in New York as a leader, so-called leader, after hearing this program this morning, I would have canceled my ticket. It is very clear that the public opinion, the thing don't make sense. It's not the fact that they're going, that is the problem. It is the fact that they're going there to Pampazet, and they're not Pampazetting here. Well, they're not protesting here. So the going there don't look like protest to people. It looks like going to Pampazet. You see? And leaders have to listen to people. And I hope my sisters and brothers in the other section of the opposition are paying attention to what people are saying. See, people are not going to follow you, and this is my direct response to the last caller. Well, your point is well taken, that people sometimes have to get up, leadership or no leadership, and act. But people are not going to follow leaders who they don't have confidence in. See, that is a human response, right? And people are going to take action, but they're going to take action in their own way. The very fact that they're not coming out in itself is protest. The very fact they're not joining the MPs at the Square of the Revolution on Wednesdays is in fact a protest. It's a protest against their own leaders. You see, you don't only protest against the other side. Sometimes you protest against their own leaders. During the time of slavery, you know, our foreparents used to slow down, they're not walking. That's where the term malingering come from, and it became a crime. You used to get beat on the plantation because malingering became a form of protest. You know, they didn't only burn down the plantations and so on. Sometimes they destroy the crops. I myself in 1983 was charged with destroying a tomato. And then there's an old slave law, because our foreparents used to destroy the crops as a form of protest. So there are not to go to Square the Revolution with leaders who they have lost confidence in. That doesn't mean that they should not join other people. or mount their own protests in their community. You see? And so I'm saying I agree with the call in principle that people have a right to stand up and to show their disgust with what is going on in one way or the other. So even if you don't want to follow your leaders or declare the revolution, then you ought to engage in other forms of self-activity, self-protest. And there are many, many other ways in which people can show their protest. I am dismayed that we are talking about all these 1,400 people who were knocked off. And one would imagine that they, done gonna fall, as we'll say for them, and they would come out and form the advance party as far as protest is concerned, because they have been directly victimized. And they have not. I suppose the fact that they were knocked off has driven more fear into them. Sometimes when you're discriminated against, it emboldens you. Some people are emboldened by that. Back to back, belly to belly, I don't give a damn, I done dead already. Young people may not know that, but the older people will know that, what that's saying. And some people will take that attitude. But some people, when they're victimized, instead of becoming emboldened, they become more frightened. Because they're studying, if I go out there and protest, my husband will lose his job, or my daughter won't get a scholarship. And you have to also remember that the majority of these people are middle-class people. Quite apart from being knocked off, they live reasonably well, you know? And so their view of the world is not going to be of the same view of the person in Albistown or Plaisance, who is working class. And if they get knocked off, that's all they have their job. And they are more likely to come out and come to the front. But middle class people, they may lose their job, but many of them, I am sure, get other jobs, or they left the country, or they're doing consultancies, or they have savings. So they're not going to have the same kind of righteous indignation that the rest of us may have. You know, I am not trying to make excuses to anybody here. My job here, when it's in the morning, is to try to explain things and try to give shine some light on why people are not acting. Those middle class people, as I said, they got savings, they got children abroad, they got they can do consultancy, they may get out of job already, they travel, they're gone, right? And so they are not going to be the ones coming to front. I know a sister, I'm not going to call her name because I don't have permission to do so, but she tried to organize them into a group. And I don't think she got very far. I may be wrong, but I don't think she got very far. At the end of the day, it is the sufferers, the ordinary working people, who will have to lead this struggle. And it is they who the politicians, the leaders, must go to and square with them. They may be in the rum shop, no. But I can tell you, in 2011, they came out of the rum shop and gave us a majority in parliament. In 2015, they came out of the rum shop and gave us a victory in 2015. And between March and August of 2020, many of them were prepared to come out of the rum shop and stand with us if we had sounded the call. So I have to come to the defense of the masses of people, even though I recognize in principle what the caller is talking about.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. Have a great day. Thank you for your time. Goodbye. I'm not supposed to say anything when you see so. Yeah, it's on now. Yes, I was saying you've been tuned to the Buxtonian Morning Time, and it's now 3 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Thank you for joining me. Do join me tomorrow morning, same time, for another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. Of course, on Wednesdays, we usually don't have a guest, so I will have more time to address a lot of issues, and we're going to talk about those issues. We're going to continue to talk about things we need to do to ensure we take care of our own destiny. I also was saying that disclaimer, my views do not necessarily match those of the callers or all of the callers, and certainly they do not necessarily match all those of Dr. Hines. Right? But this is democracy at work. We each have a right to our opinions. We each also have a right to disagree. So we can agree to disagree. But what is important in all of this is that, like they say, teeth and tongue do bite. But we must not necessarily separate, because in unity there is strength. And we need the unity right now to confront that which confronts us. I certainly can't agree that we perhaps should sit it out or wait it out for 5 years. We have seen the damage that has been done to the psyche of our people, to the psyche of our nation, in a little under 1 year. A little under 1 year, usually a government is trying to find its foot. It's trying to settle into office. And if so much damage could have been done before they have settled into office, imagine giving them 2 and 3 more years, or 4 and 5 more years. Okay? And then you will really know. You will really, really know whether this is Guyana or this is hell. So I certainly disagree with those schools of thought which believe that, hey, go easy and survive. They say who fights and run away lives to fight another day. Yeah, that's true. But note the word is fight. I don't think we have enough fight in this society right now. I certainly don't think so. And as I'm talking about that, I want to throw this out there, because the community, as well as the government, the people of this country. 1 year, March 1st. I want to encourage every Guyanese, leader or leader not, show your dissatisfaction by organizing community-based protests. Come out to your road front with placards. Come out to your road front with placards. Identify everything which is wrong in your community and in this country on the 2nd of August. It's a holiday. Come out to your road front, to your village front, and say to this illegitimate cabal and say to the world, all is not right in Guyana. In a year, this is the damage which has been done, and we're not going to stand for it. That's my encouragement to you. Let's mark our emancipation like that. 187 years. August 1st will mark 187 years of emancipation. It also will mark a year of the PPP installed cabal. And I'm saying to Guyanese, if you didn't hear it, write up your placards and go to the front of your village and make it known that you're dissatisfied with a lot of things. I personally, me alone, Me alone. Whether they stand by my side, in front of me, or behind me, me alone. As of today, I'll be working to organize a protest for Buxtonians. I'll be working to organize a protest for Buxtonians. And so Buxtonians who are listening, those of you who are overseas, I encourage those who are here. And let me tell you what my issues are. The PPP won the last local government elections. That's about 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years. November this year will make 3 years. And so they're controlling the Buxton Falls NDC. And for 3 years almost, the state of roads in Buxton, every single road in Buxton is bad. What is not bad for the full length and width of the road is bad halfway or 3/4 way. And you have PPP in office as the government and PPP controlling the Buxton Falls NDC. We must stand up and say all is not right in Buxton. And so Buxtonians, I am saying, August 2nd, let's go to the road front with those issues. Water supply, problems. Clogged drains, problems. Broken bridges, problems. Lots of our villagers have not yet get their COVID relief. They're still holding on to pink slips, problems. I am sure we have villagers who have been dismissed from their jobs. As a matter of fact, I can name a lot of them. Problems. So Buxtonians, I'm saying, in the spirit of the ancestors, on August 2nd, let us go to the road front with our placards. I don't know about you, but I'm inviting you to join me. I will be there. Even if it's for 1 hour, I will be there. Even if it's a one-man protest, I will be there. Because all is not well in Buxton. And I know all is not well in Guyana. And while we sit and wait for leaders who are comfortable, David Hines said that part of the problem why you see most of the 1,400 persons are not coming out to protest is because they're middle class. Well, the middle class is comfortable. Most of the politicians in this country are middle class. So all of them comfortable. They ain't got to do nothing for us or for you. But those of us who are at the bottom of the social ladder, according to Chetty Jagan, we have to take our own destiny in hand. We have to act. We have to act. And I'm saying, August 2nd is a good point to start. To say that 187 years ago, our ancestors stood up against oppression, and this generation ought to